Lately, reports of the Wendigo have been rising from the frozen forests of North America. Hunters whisper about hollow-eyed figures watching them from the trees, and abandoned campsites are found torn apart with no trace of those who slept there. But are these chilling encounters truly the work of the Wendigo, or something far more sinister lurking in the dark? I decided to investigate, digging through ancient legends, forgotten history, and disturbing real-life cases, and what I uncovered may change the way you see the wilderness forever. They say the Wendigo doesn't just appear out of nowhere, it grows inside a person, slowly, quietly, waiting. In the winter of 1878, deep in the frozen wilds of Alberta, Canada, lived a man named Swift Runner. He was once known as a kind father, a trusted guide, and a respected member of the Cree community. But when that brutal winter struck, something inside him changed. As food ran out and the cold sank its claws into their cabin, whispers spread that Swift Runner would wander into the woods for hours, muttering to himself and returning with empty hands, yet a disturbing calm in his eyes. Then one day, the rest of his family was simply gone. Neighbors later told investigators that in those final days, Swift Runner's voice had grown harsh, his eyes empty, as if he was watching them without truly seeing them. Was this madness born from hunger, or the first signs of something inhuman taking hold? When he stumbled out of the forest months later, alone, he claimed they had starved to death. But the authorities who followed his tracks found shattered bones cracked open for marrow and a campsite stained with what they feared was human remains. That was when the elders spoke a single word: Wendigo. They believed Swift Runner had become consumed, not by hunger, but by the spirit of the Wendigo itself. And to this day, the place where it happened remains eerily silent, as if the forest is still watching and waiting for its next host. They say Wendigo sightings aren't fading, they're spreading, slipping back into the deep forests where few dare to look. In the early 1900s, in the frozen wilds of northern Ontario, lived a man known as Jack Fiddler. To most, he was a respected Cree chief, a wise healer, and a man who had helped guide his people through famine and storms. But hidden beneath that trust was a secret that chilled even the bravest hunters. Jack claimed he could kill Wendigos. For years, whispers followed him that he had put down more than a dozen who were turning before the spirit could fully take them. Some were strangers who wandered into camp. Others were his own people, even family, who had grown distant, violent, and hollow-eyed. Villagers spoke of one woman who stopped eating and spent nights staring into the trees, murmuring about voices calling her deeper into the snow. When Jack ended her life, he told the elders it was the only way to stop the Wendigo from devouring her soul, and then moving on to the rest of the tribe. But in 1907, when authorities learned of these killings, they called them murders, not mercy. Jack was arrested, and while awaiting trial, he quietly slipped his bindings and walked into the forest one final time. He was found days later, lifeless, as if something had drained the will to live from his body. Some said justice caught up with him. Others whispered he had finally drawn the Wendigo too close, and it claimed the only man who had ever dared to hunt it. Even now, hunters who pass through that frozen stretch of land say they sometimes hear quiet footsteps following them, soft, steady, and stopping the moment they turn around. They say when the Wendigo calls your name, it doesn't shout, it whispers from just beyond the tree line until you can't tell if it's real. or inside your mind. In 1897, deep in the remote wilds of Ontario, a man named Machekequonabe lived among his Ojibwe people. He was no outcast, a loyal hunter, strong, protective, and known for guarding the camp from wandering predators. But that winter, something began stalking their forest. Night after night, distant figures moved just out of sight. Branches snapped where no wind blew, and eerie cries echoed through the frozen trees. The elders whispered it could be the Wendigo, a spirit that fed on fear and then on flesh. Soon, Machekequonabe grew restless, patrolling the woods long after the fires had gone cold, claiming he saw glowing shapes watching him from the dark. Then, one night, he returned to camp, pale, shaking, saying he had finally cornered the Wendigo. What came next would scar the tribe forever. A scream tore through the night, and Machekequonabe emerged from the tree line, holding a blood-stained weapon, insisting he had killed the creature. But when the others followed his tracks, they didn't find a monster. They found the body of his own foster father, lifeless in the snow. Machekequonabe swore he had seen the man transform. Eyes hollow, voice twisted, the Wendigo spirit consuming him from within. The authorities called it murder. The elders called it tragedy. And as the law carried him away, Machekequonabe cried out that he had saved them all, that if he hadn't struck first, the Wendigo would have claimed them next. He died in prison not long after, whispering to the walls, as if something was still there, listening. Even now, some say the Wendigo never left that forest. It only found a new voice and waits for someone else to believe it's real. They say the Wendigo was only an ancient legend, but lately, the forests of Wisconsin have been whispering again. It began quietly, just strange reports from hunters and hikers, near the dense north woods close to the Upper Peninsula line. Most brushed it off as wolves, or maybe bears, but locals noticed something else. Whatever it was never left tracks. One man, a seasoned hunter, swore he watched a pale figure crawl out from the tree line. Thin, impossibly tall, with hollow white eyes that didn't blink. He raised his rifle, but the thing moved silently back into the fog, like smoke slipping between the trees. Days later, campers near Lake Machekequonabe heard screams tearing through the woods. Not animal, not human. Rangers searched the area and found abandoned tents, fires still warm, but no sign of the campers who pitched them. That was when old Ojibwe elders warned that the Wendigo had returned, drawn by greed, fear, and isolation. Even deputies admitted strange calls kept coming in. Sightings of a pale creature standing still, just beyond the glow of headlights, vanishing the moment anyone stepped closer. And one night, a farmer's trail cam caught it, a gaunt, skeletal silhouette standing at the edge of his cornfield, arms too long, head tilting slowly toward the lens. He moved away weeks later, leaving the house locked and the land untouched. To this day, the property still sits empty. Animals won't go near it, and people only speak of it in hushed voices. Because in those woods, the Wendigo is no longer just a story. It's waiting and watching for who will disappear next. They say the waters around Madeline Island are calm until the wind howls without warning. Centuries ago, the Ojibwe people whispered about a creature that stalked the island's dense woods during harsh winters, a figure with hollow eyes, a heart of ice, and a hunger no feast could satisfy. Legends tell of a once respected hunter who lived on Madeline Island. During a brutal winter famine, when the snow buried the lodges and no game could be found, he vanished into the forest. Days later, he returned, but something was wrong. His skin was pale, stretched tight like frozen bark. His eyes glowed faintly, and his voice cracked like snapping twigs. The elders grew suspicious. They spoke of the Wendigo, an evil spirit that preys on human desperation. Anyone who consumed human flesh in hunger's grip could become its vessel. That was it? Or was it the truth? Because neighbors remembered how, days before he disappeared, his behavior had grown distant and cruel. He snarled at friends, hoarded food, and muttered to himself in a strange tongue, like he was arguing with something unseen. One night, screams tore through the silent woods. When searchers found his lodge, they discovered gnawed bones and no sign of the hunter. Some swore they saw a towering, emaciated figure slipping between the trees, its antlers scraping the low branches, its breath clouding the moonlight. Many believe the Wendigo claimed him that night, twisting his soul into its own. Since then, the Ojibwe say, the Wendigo stalks Madeline Island's forests, waiting for the cold, the hunger, and the next desperate soul to take. So, what do you think? Was it just hunger, or something far darker that took hold that night? The Wendigo legend has haunted the northern forests for centuries, and some say its curse still lingers, watching, waiting for the next soul to break. If you ever feel the icy wind howl through the trees and you swear you hear footsteps behind you, don't look back, because it might already be too late. Beat tone softens. Hey, if you enjoyed diving into these chilling mysteries with me, make sure to like this video, share it with your bravest friends, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Join our little tribe of explorers. It's safer when we stick together, or at least safer than being alone in the dark.